G'day guys, how you doing? It's me, back with another video. So in this video we're going to be talking about a rather interesting subject. This is something I've learned over the last couple of years, and believe it or not, heck, it must have been about 6 years ago I had somebody tell me that everything happens backwards. And the really funny thing about it was my little girl, my daughter, when she was learning to talk for a number of years, she couldn't say backwards. She would always say back forwards. And I never really picked up on that until, like I said, I was actually living in New Zealand, and the things that transpired in New Zealand actually made me start to look at what was going on in my life and actually start to research this stuff. And this is something that's not taught in any way, shape or form, and it is intrinsically how everything works. And it seems bizarre that things would work backwards. However, we live in a world of opposites. It's very, very interesting. We have around us, we have this opposition to everything. So the fundamental basics are kind of like where there's an up, there's a down. Where there's an in, there's an out. Where there's a left, there's a right. Where there's a hot, there's a cold. Where there's day, there's night. Where there is rain, there is dryness. Or where there is moisture, there is dryness. Where there is land, there is ocean. And on it goes. Where there's a man, there's a woman. And these are just fundamental basic examples. And I'm going to give you some examples of how this actually plays out into our real world, our real life. And like I said, this is fundamentally how everything around us works. A good example would be, like, for years I would get, throughout my professional career as a fabricator, as a metal worker, I would get called into other facilities to help them with projects. I've done all sorts of stuff, from the aerospace industry to working for major automotive manufacturers to independent contractors that, you name it. I've ran the gamut. And the interesting thing that I learned was that if you go into a situation and you are excelling in life, if you are putting everything into a project, you're really wanting to do the best that you could possibly do for the individuals that you're working for, or the individuals that have hired you, the thing that I've found that was always very interesting was that there would start to be a pushback from them. Like, the more I tried to do a better and better and better job, the more they would make my life more and more and more difficult, to the point where you'd finally quit and actually leave that company or leave that job or what have you. And it's very interesting because Simon Sinek has a video out there where he talks about don't be the smartest person in the room. And this is one of these laws of the opposite. How if you're trying to be the smartest person in the room, people are going to want to shut you down. So the more you put out, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, the more people are going to come at you going, you're dumb, you're an idiot, you're a moron. They'll undermine you and throw you under the bus. It's no different if you're in a relationship. Let's say you're in a relationship with a woman, and you've got a woman that is constantly in a state of unhappiness. And the more that you do for this individual, the more ungrateful she becomes. And it can be the same for a woman who's in a relationship with a man. The more she does to try to make the man happy, the more he pushes back and makes her more and more unhappy. And it's incredible how this works. It's one of these things where it doesn't make sense. You would think that going into a situation or a job or a relationship or a friendship or whatever, the more you try to make things right, or the more you try to excel at something in these given situations, the more you're going to get the actual opposite in return. So let's say, like I said, You go into a job, you're excelling, you're wanting to give the people the best that you could possibly give them. But the problem is, while you're trying to do that, you're actually making them look bad. I know that sounds really insane. However, you've got to read the room. You've got to read the situation that you're in. You've got to read the people. You never want to be the shining star in the room, or the shining star in a corporate environment, or anything. If you're going to do that, you want to be that individual quietly doing that stuff for yourself. And that's where I'm talking about reading the room. Okay? You go into an environment and you keep yourself below the radar and you read the environment that you're working in. Now, I built a prototype, or helped build a prototype electric vehicle for a corporation or a company in Camarillo, California, back in 2012. Well, because I was dealing with highly intelligent individuals, like the owner of the company has a master's in business, economics, and everything like that. He's a very, very smart and intelligent individual, as are the other engineers in the company. So I'm dealing with people that are up here, and I wouldn't put my intelligence level at the same level as them. So I was always on my back foot being in that environment. So I wasn't upsetting these individuals. They'd plucked me and brought me into their operation to help them build this prototype electric vehicle and for a major motoring manufacturer. Because of that, they have always offered me work. Like, I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest, I can phone that company and go, hey, it's the Kiwi, I need some work down in California. You guys got anything open? And they'll be like, come on down. Because they were always calling me back in over the years to help them with other projects. And every time I went into that company, they were offering me full-time employment, and for really good money. And it was because I wasn't a shining star, or the tall poppy, the person, let's say you've got everybody's at this level here, right? And then all of a sudden you poke your head up above everybody, you're drawing attention to yourself. Well, with that company, I wasn't able to draw attention to myself. I had a long way to work up the ladder. And when you look at the other electric vehicles that they make for the mining industry, etc., you'd understand why. I mean, these were some incredibly intelligent individuals, very, very smart people. So that's what I mean by when you read the room. Like, I've worked for other individuals where, they think they are a car builder, for argument's sake. And the more you actually try to educate them and help them and do the right thing by them, the more they actually turn against you. And I could never understand this. And this has happened so many times over about a 20-year, 25-year period. There was always pissing people off. However, I wasn't pissing them off. What I was getting back. I was getting the opposite of what I was putting out. And like I said, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing that happened in my marriage. The more I tried to make my now ex-wife happy, the more she pushed back because she didn't want to be happy. What I should have been doing is actually making her life more and more miserable. And the more and more miserable I would have tried to make her life, she would have given me the opposite back. She would have tried to make things better on her end. So this world of opposites is very, very, very interesting, and it's also somewhat complex because I did a video a while ago, called Being Woke is a Joke. I'll leave it in the description section below for you to watch. It's no different to all these woke people, the wokesters is what I call them now. Let's take, for argument's sake, they're wanting to, I'll use the electric vehicle industry because it's an industry that I know relatively well. You've got these people that think that, say for argument's sake, like an Elon Musk is out there trying to save the world by producing this electric vehicle. Everybody thinks that Elon's, doing this incredible thing. However, the reality of the situation is the actual electric vehicle industry is an incredibly toxic industry. Once an electric vehicle rolls off the production line, it's actually considerably more toxic to manufacture than a regular internal combustion engine vehicle. And this is one of those things where it's the actual opposite of what the individuals are wanting. You've got these people that are wanting to save the planet, and the more they put their attention to wanting to save the planet, the more they're getting pushed back with all these new products that are actually more toxic and more harmful to the environment than the actual status quo of how we are currently living. And then you've got the electric vehicle industry where you can't recycle the actual battery packs. An average battery pack in, say, like a Tesla Model S has in excess of 7,000 D-sized lithium-ion batteries. And these batteries are incredibly toxic to manufacture. But these people that are buying these vehicles think that they're doing something that's great for the planet, when in actual fact, they're really not. So when you've got not just one or two, but when you've got, say, a couple of billion people on the planet that are putting all their energy and all their focus into wanting to save the planet, what they're going to get back is the exact opposite of what they want. They're going to get back more of what they're putting their attention and their energy into, which is actually more of the stuff that they want to save the planet from. And it's this never-ending cycle. If you really wanted to save the planet, you do the exact opposite of what you're wanting to do. You don't try to save the planet. You carry on living the status quo. Or you actually start living a far more humble, far more less materialistic life yourself. And that's the other aspect, is a lot of these people that are wanting to save the planet aren't living these humble, non-materialistic lives. If you go, I know some people that have this mentality, and they're just got all this high dollar materialism around them, and it's just, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? You can't put this energy out and then live like this. You see what I'm saying? It's the world of opposites. You always get the opposite back of what you actually want. And this is the insanity of the world today, is how people think they're smart, they think they're educated, they think they're intelligent, when they're actually not. A good example is psychology, okay? This is an amazing example. Nietzsche, for argument's sake, he didn't want his works published in any way, shape or form, because he basically knew he was a lunatic. Because he understood that the fundamental premise behind mental psychology and understanding the human condition was trying to answer what is wrong with humanity. So the more you actually put your focus into trying to fix humanity, the more you get kicked back a sick society. So all psychology is actually been producing is more of what it tries to fix, and that's sick people. So you have to look at the psychologist who is actually trying to fix people, because what he's actually doing is he's not actually fixing people. He's actually, or she is, making the world actually more sick. You see how it works? So the key thing is to teach people something like what I'm teaching you right here, right now, is how things work. Because if you understand, if all society understood that trying to fix the population, trying to make them more mentally sound, is actually making the population more mentally ill. Because people are constantly looking for an answer outside of themselves. The answer is in here. Have you noticed how the deeper we go into space, into the cosmos, the sicker humanity has become, because people are looking for answers further and further and further and further out there, when in actual fact the answers are deeper and deeper and deeper in here. There's a very famous, I wouldn't say it's famous, but it's certainly a very well-known saying amongst the the truly enlightened community, and that is, if you don't go within, you go without. So the more people are trying to look outside of themselves for the answer, the more backward society has become. Whereas we actually had a society that was looking more inside of ourselves, the healthier society would become. So I'm going to be utilizing this whole world of opposites stuff to explain many, many things over, I don't know, over the remainder of time that this channel is going to be up. So I hope this has helped you out a little bit, fellas. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section. I'll be doing my best to answer them over the coming years. Alrighty? So have a good one, chaps. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.